We have all heard many times salt is not good for you. Come on, admit it. You hear about the sodium count all the time. Well, our next guest says not so fast. Eckburg, he is the owner of Go Pound Salt, and he's here to show us how to use salt to enhance the flavors of our food, all while debunking the myth that we've all heard so much about, that salt just simply is not good for you. Welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here. What is the biggest misconception about salt?
That either salt is bad for you or that you don't need salt.
But you're saying no.
Quite the opposite. Yeah, there's a lot of medical studies that I mean, the potassium sodium pump, your muscles need sodium and potassium to function normally, here in the desert even more so. So you need that sodium intake. You get a lot of it in your normal fruits and vegetables, but it's not inappropriate to use it in cooking as well. We're going to talk about the benefits of unrefined salt versus the refined salts that you see on the grocery store shelves.
Right, I was going to ask you, what is the difference, of course, between the traditional table salt, a kosher salt, versus other salts?
We tell everybody that comes to visit us, happiness is just a lick away. You ready to put that to the test?
I'm going to test it.
All right.
All right.
This is our kosher salt. I'll let you try that first. While you're trying that, I'm actually going to put the rest of the chicken on the grill here.
Okay, that's good. It's salt. I'm a salt kid, though, so I like
salty.
salt.
It's hot.
Yeah.
It's acidic. A little bit of a chemical taste to it. A little bit of a sting to it. That's because that salt is entirely refined salt, which means they strip all the minerals and elements out of it. However, this is one of the most beautiful unrefined sea salts available in the world. It comes from the North Brittany coast of France. That's all you're going to need. When you cook with it, please taste it.
Okay, I'm going to get the other salt out of my mouth first. Okay.
Should have brought you some water.
Ooh.
Starts out on the palate like you've been diving or scuba diving or snorkeling. But then as those crystals dissolve on the palate, kind of creamy, kind of rich, kind of buttery.
It is crystallized, too.
That's the mineral content presenting on the palate.
So this is the unrefined.
That's the unrefined. When you use that, you're going to use about 70% less than what you would use even if you were cooking with kosher salt. So a lot lower sodium consumption just by making the switch.
Right, and I was going to say I felt like there was a lot more salt in my mouth because I used more crystals. And I didn't need to.
You didn't need to, no, a lot less. So we've actually created a brine that we've used for our chicken, and brining is one of the best ways to consistently control the amount of salt that you use in the foods that you cook. So brine your chicken, brine your pork. We use a very unique brine in terms of the total ratio. We use 2 ounces of the unrefined sea salt per gallon of water. Mix all that up, make sure it's totally dissolved into the brine. A normal kosher salt brine will call for 8 ounces of salt per gallon of water. So again, that 70 to 75% reduction is very consistent.
And brining is the tenderizing?
It tenderizes, it moisturizes, and it actually improves the flavor. So what happens is your muscle fibers kind of look like this in any musculature that you have. And so when you put the salt into the brine and then you brine the protein, what happens is the salt actually denatures the protein or causes those muscle fibers to relax and come apart, which then allows more water in. So it serves that threefold purpose.
Makes the food so tender and delicious. Okay, so we're brining with the unrefined salt.
Yes. And then we're going to go ahead and start the other part of our next set.
Okay.
We're going to melt just a little bit of butter into this pan, and we're going to caramelize some red onions and do a pomegranate balsamic reduction. Red onions are kind of the red-headed stepchild of the culinary world. Everybody says, oh, they've got a terrible bite, they don't taste so well. This is a great way to use red onions that provides an additional flavor profile as well. So, as an example of how you would use the salt that we just discussed, that sel gris, we're going to use just a small pinch. The 3-fingered pinch is a standard culinary unit of measure.
And that's
We're going to sweat these down, we're going to caramelize them a little bit, and that's really all you need.
Okay, and what do you said you're using, what was
We're using a pomegranate balsamic vinegar. So, the real benefit to using the unrefined salts is that your body can actually process them and metabolize them appropriately. So physicians that say you shouldn't be eating this kind of salt, they're absolutely correct. If you have any of this at home,
move it.
Get rid of it.
And where do you get this unrefined salt?
We actually import them from all over the world. That was one of the things that got us into the business, is I was looking to bring salts in for my own personal use, and I had to buy them in 5-pound quantities or larger. Then I'm looking for a bunch of friends who want to share the salt. I'm like, why don't we just bring it in and start making it available? And so that's how the business was actually born.
And I want you to very quickly, while he's finishing up, look at all these salts that they offer at Go Pound Salt. How many different flavors here?
We have a total of 34 of our own unique custom blends.
Wow.
We have 6 different bacon cures for the bag in front there. Make your own bacon. That's part of our upcoming kitchen chemistry courses in Gilbert.
I mean, this is everything from lemonade You have chocolate.
Those are all of our organic cocktail rimmers. We actually craft a total of 17 different cocktail rimmers that are made with organic salts and sugars.
And even a face scrub in there to boot.
A few of those as well.
All righty, well, we know you're just getting started. We're going to be doing our brine for the chicken. We're also going to be doing ice cream and quesadillas coming up, so you have a lot to go. You have a lot to go. We're going to do a lot with salt this morning. And Terry, it was delicious. I can't wait for you to taste it.